My name is Shel Winkley. I am a meteorologist as well as the weather and climate engagement specialist here at Climate Central. Um, I know that for the most part, you probably know who we are, considering that a lot of you signed up through the link. But just in case, we are a non-advocacy, nonprofit communication organization. We have a lot of data, a lot of science, lots of data and science nerds around here that we kind of package it in a way that we can make the communication and the conversations around that data and science to really help understand what the impacts of climate change are on you, right? It's a really big problem. So we have to figure out how we can make it relatable and how we can talk about what's happening outside of your door. So yeah, good to see everybody. Thanks for stopping by. One thing before we get started, I did want to share with you, if you saw this morning's Climate Matters, saw the news, probably won't be news to a lot of folks here at this point, but I did want to show you that after it was kind of paused in 2024, officially as of today, Climate Central is the new home for $1 billion disasters here in the United States. So this is the Climate Matters that went out today. It's got a graphic that you can click on and download for your use that shows the $1 billion disasters that we have experienced so far in 2025 from January through June. As of the end of June, we've already racked up $101.4 billion in terms of the monetary price tag that goes along with these disasters. You can see a lot of that's from tornadoes, severe weather, and of course the big fire, the Palisades fire in Los Angeles, which cost about $60 billion on its own. The other thing that comes with this, if you come to our website and you go into tools, you'll find the link for $1 billion disaster or weather and climate disasters rather. This is the site to bookmark. This is going to have all of the updates as we go month by month. I think it's a really cool site. It's very interactive. So you can come and you can hover over all the charts, the graphics, and on a lot of these tabs, you can also download some of that data as well. If you want to bring it into broadcasts, if you want to bring it into your work, all of that data will be there. And coming up, starting next month, we'll also be doing monthly climate briefings as well to keep you updated. So just some news here on this Wednesday for you. Okay, so we are here to talk about communication, conversation, but specifically with the work that you're already doing. Everybody here is already a great storyteller. You're already telling these stories through weather, through climate. I always say that all stories are weather stories. And so we really want to help you translate that work from what you're already doing to not create more work, but to bring it into a area that we've all been focusing on, which is the digital space, which we know is becoming just more and more important in terms of how people are getting their information. So one person that I wanted to introduce you to today is somebody who does a really just bang up stellar job at this, Ana Bueno with Univision in Houston. She's the environmental reporter there, and she just has a really great way of translating this, not only from science and data to a story, but also doing it for the Spanish language community specifically. So Ana, I'll let you introduce yourself and then we'll get going.
Hi, Shel. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. This is a really big honor for me, and also to be able to share part of my experience because it hasn't been easy, and I think we all have so much to keep on learning on this. So very happy to be here, and thank you everyone for joining.
Okay, so the chat is open if you would like to maybe bring up anything that you see and you want to drop into the chat, that's fine. In terms of questions and answers, we're going to do that after the presentation, but please utilize that Q&A box there at the bottom of your Zoom screen. That's where we'll be plucking those questions from and then having that conversation afterwards. So with that being said, let's get started. Yeah, so some of the images that you see here as soon as my screen starts to share is pulled from social media. It's anything from doing social media content that is basically looking at social story, or rather a climate story from beginning to end, or some of it is just dropping it into a story that's happening outside, like we talked about. So those are really the two things that I want to focus on here today. But the place that I always start is that one thing to remember is that we don't necessarily need to tell people that climate change is real, that climate change is happening. You're going to hear, especially on social media, you're going to hear from the vocal minority, right? The people that are going to fill your mentions, fill your comment section on maybe Facebook or whatever it might be, that's going to be a really vocal minority. But according to the latest Yale program on climate change communication survey that they do every year, 72% of Americans understand that climate change is happening. Climate change is real, and that climate change is impacting the weather. And for the most part, a majority of the United States also knows that climate change is primarily caused by humans, by what we have done since the Industrial Revolution, which is putting heat trapping pollution into our atmosphere by burning things like coal, oil, and methane gas. But I think where we can really do a lot of work is around these two questions. So I look at this every single year, but one of the questions is, okay, so we know that climate change is real. How much do you think that it's going to harm somebody within the United States? Not you, but just somebody that lives within these 50 states. Is it going to impact them a moderate amount? Is it going to impact them a great deal? And above 50%, except for West Virginia, Wyoming, everybody in the United States, for the most part, is a majority to say, yeah, we think that climate change is going to impact the weather enough that it is going to harm somebody in the US. But when you ask that same question, but you say, okay, but will it harm you personally? That falls below 50% for pretty much every state except New York State, California, as well as Hawaii. And that's really where we can tell these stories and help make the impact to help you understand the heat wave that you're experiencing, the thunderstorms that may be getting stronger, whatever that weather event might be. You have probably already seen and felt the influence of climate change. And not to pick on the folks that have had a tough year in Kerr County, Texas, but I do want to bring up the floods that happened there July 4th. When you ask that same question of them, 55% in Kerr County, Texas, where the floods primarily occurred, said, yeah, we understand that climate change probably will hurt or, somebody within the US. But only 39% said climate change can harm me personally. Now, were the floods caused because of climate change only? No, it was a trapped weather system. It was a lot of rainfall. It was, an area that's known for flooding. There are a lot of other pieces, but what we're working towards is that last, yeah, but why? We understand a warmer atmosphere is a thirstier, greedier atmosphere. We understand that the Gulf of Mexico, where the moisture was coming from, was adding extra moisture to the weather system at hand. So there's a piece of climate change there that we can make that connection to help you understand that, yeah, climate change did have a role in this, even if it wasn't the direct cause. So I look at this as two approaches. What I do a lot here at Climate Central, because this is what we do, right? We're putting together the climate story in a way that you can communicate it yourself using that data on a localized basis. But the way that I do it here is through what we call a deep dive, right? So this is going to be full videos that are made just specifically to talk about the climate connection. It's going to be things like explainers, which are always really great for engagement when it comes to social media. It's trends, it's the impacts that are happening. But for the most part, a lot of these are going to be that you're already interacting with these groups, these folks that are following you, that are watching you. So these are primarily for audiences already seeking that climate information to understand that last but why. How are hurricanes being impacted by climate change? How has your temperature shifted over the last 50 to 55 years? But the other thing that I really like in running the chat with us today is Tom DiLiberto, and we were talking about this during the summer, and he sized it up really well. And he said it doesn't always have to be an after school special. After school specials and long specials are always great, but not everybody always has the time for that. We know that people's attention spans are shorter and shorter. So I like to call this the dripping effect, right? So we're just weaving those little climate nuggets into your story bit by bit every day. You're adding a line here or there, you're normalizing this conversation. So you're not full throwing, I as a broadcast meteorologist for almost 20 years here in Texas, fell into this trap a lot where I had 3 minutes for weather and I would spend two and a half, 2:45 talking about the climate change connection and then only a little bit about the actual forecast. So a different way you can do this is instead of throwing it onto somebody all at once and having them really take in all this information, we can just say, yeah, so it's pretty warm outside today. It may feel great to you, but we know that heat like this is made more likely because of climate change. Or, hey, are you really enjoying this mild day? Well, we know that spring is actually shortening our winter season and these spring-like temperatures are becoming more common. Okay, here's the rest of the story. So it's these very short pieces that kind of put the inkling in people's heads. And as they do that water cooler talk or they're talking with family and friends, they can say like, oh yeah, and I heard this, that climate change is impacting them. Those very quick nuggets that they can take away. Um, and I think that the overarching thing here is that both of these matter. Both of these are important. Both of these are great. They just reach different audiences. So you don't have to stay in one camp. You don't have to only do one type. There's just different scenarios for different reasons why you would do it. Um, and really, the idea behind doing this whole webinar was, so when I saw this information come out, again put out by a Yale program on climate change communication, we're looking from 2021 to 2025. How has the way people have gotten news and gotten information, and hopefully credible information, how has that changed? And again, this isn't anything new. We know that we still have plenty of people reading articles and watching news on TV, but we also understand that they're getting their news faster throughout the day from different sources. And so the one place I wanted to start was social media. Um, 12% of responders in May or March of 2021 said, yeah, that's where I get my news from. And while social media has become a lot of kind of echo chambery in different areas, we understand that that growth is getting bigger. 19% now say, yeah, social media is the most important place that I get my news from. Another place that I think any content that you make for the social realm, for digital spaces, the other benefit that a lot of us that are on this webinar have is that you have websites, you have apps, especially. I always thought that we didn't utilize our app the best way that we could have while I was at the TV station. I thought that we could have done more in putting these vertical videos into our apps, but that has grown from 14% to 16%. Podcasts are kind of dangling down there, right? We're talking about podcasts from anything that you might hear from your station, your organization, maybe something like an NPR or ABC or NBC, to as much as anything like Joe Rogan or Ezra Klein or The Daily is the specific podcast they gave as examples. That only shifted a percentage point. But the reason that podcasts are important too is we know that a lot of people get information there, and it's not always vetted information. But where that trickles into is this right here, which is friends and family, right? We get a lot of our influence, we get a lot of our news, we have a lot of our conversations about things like climate change with friends and family, and that also grew a percentage point. So we can package up all these places that people are getting their information and really push it towards those conversations. And I've said it a couple times already, but I really want to drive it home. We get asked all the time, yeah, I'm just one person, or oh, that seems really bad. What can I do? Or is there anything you can do? The starting point is always that conversation and communication are a solution. What we're doing today is a solution to then build off of or have those conversations with somebody else. In this case, with your followers, with your audiences that are with it. So again, I think the biggest way is that you can make climate part of the conversation, but it doesn't always have to be the conversation, right? So some examples of that: heat wave coverage. It doesn't have to be a full-blown thing about heat waves. You could just say, yeah, it's hot outside. This heat is lasting longer. It's more intense. And with climate change, we know that this is something that has increased across most of the US since we've been looking back at this since 1970 using attribution science. If it's a hurricane, we've got Melissa down in the Caribbean, right? We understand that the waters it's stewing over are warmer than they typically should be at this time of the year. October hurricanes, not that necessarily uncommon, but the water temperatures that could boost this once those upper level winds relax, yeah, that's going to be a little bit different. Makes it an unnatural storm. So we can talk about how we've seen a bigger trend of stronger storms and storms that have gotten stronger faster as well. Drop that little nugget in. Um, and again, hey, maybe it's January and you're in the northern US and it's been real cold or people are just kind of over it. But we're getting this really nice 70-degree day. That's beautiful, not to pick on the city of Boston, but we understand that one of those days is actually leading to winter being the fastest warming season. So just kind of dropping that nugget in to say, yeah, it's great outside. You should definitely go out and enjoy it. But no, that cold weather is important too, and that we are seeing significant warming in the winter season. And again, I think a lot of you already have these resources, already know these resources, but here at Climate Central, we have a lot of drops every week with Climate Matters. If you're not signed up for it, that QR code on the left will get you there. It's anything from localized impacts to data trends to the city or the communities that you're covering. to the very basics, why we know that climate change is happening, how we know that we have impacted CO2 in the atmosphere, what are those emission sources. And then that informs things like attribution science. So we use the climate shift index. This is just a quick graphic. If you follow us on social media, we use it quite often to help add that last. But yeah, we understand that maybe every, what is this, July 31st that I picked here, isn't necessarily going to be this hot, but we know in places like Florida and Georgia that temperature is almost impossible without a fingerprint of climate change. And we know that it is becoming much more likely at the tail end of July. So that QR code will take you to the CSI map that also has 9 by 16 social friendly downloads, as well as 1000 by 1000 for your social media needs. Okay, and I thought this was a really cool way to weave climate change into the conversation. I picked two football teams here. I'm in Texas. I don't necessarily love either one, but I just picked them because I'm in the state of Texas. But we came out with something about football season warming. So we looked at September through December, and we just said, these are the warming trends that we've seen. We understand that that impacts players at the beginning of the season when summer heat continues, and fans. It also impacts them. But really weaving this information into the things that people love, people care about, that's what is, I think, where you can really make a big impact. Why do I care? Well, hey, you love this thing. We know that it's changing because of climate change. So I want to introduce you. This is Lucy. She talks about college football quite a bit on social media. And so what she started doing this year was the hot game of the week. So she was talking about a game that was going to be highly anticipated. In this case, it's going to be the Texas Longhorns versus the Oklahoma Sooners. And she talked about the game itself, but then she brings in a climate connection as well. So I'll let you watch this from her.
On the other hand, Oklahoma's having a great time. Life is awesome in Norman. They're ranked sixth nationally. They're number one in total defense. They look like a really different, good, complete football team compared to last year. Bringing in John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle has changed their offense. They're having a lot of fun. Except for the fact we don't know if John Mateer's playing in this game. He had hand surgery literally 2-ish weeks ago, and they're like he'll be out for a few weeks. And then this week they're like he might play. He might play, which, okay, pop off modern medicine. That's very exciting. If he doesn't play, it'll be Michael Hawkins Jr., who played in this game last year for Oklahoma. I don't like to predict Red River because things are weird. This is a very weird game with weird energy. I just take it as it is and enjoy it. But if there's one thing I know about this game, it is going to be hot outside. It's going to be 10 degrees warmer than normal, according to our friends at Climate Central. That's not ideal. Temperatures in the 90s, especially when this game is kicking off at 3:30 when it's supposed to be a noon game, and we all know it's supposed to be a noon game. Whatever. And these temperatures are rising because of fossil fuels and climate change. This is not good. We cannot let them ruin Red River and the State Fair for us. Bessies, it is hot outside. It's going to be hot in Dallas this weekend. If you want to learn more about how climate change is impacting college football, visit impactsus.org/CFB to learn more.
So Lucy worked with our partners in PAX US who helped put us on this webinar today, and pulled together a website where, like, if you want to learn more, hey, we can give it to you over here on the web. Follow that link. But again, you're taking something that everybody loves, at a highly anticipated game, and we're saying, by the way, when you're out there, it's going to be hotter. It could be a little more dangerous for you. It's one of those days where you probably should drink more water, even though it's the month of October or November when it should be a little cooler. So one of the last things I want to do before I hand it over is I want to get you started this week, right? I think the biggest thing is just to start. That was the best piece of information that I got when I started talking about climate change like a decade ago. I was like, well, how do I get into it? And literally, it was just start talking about it. So some ideas that could spark here for things that you can make today, this week. Fall foliage is starting to pop across a lot of the country up north, and it's slowly starting to work its way down south. You can talk about how warmer fall nights or hotter October temperatures impact these colors. And then why does it matter outside of your Instagram squares? Because there's a lot of economic and tourism dollars that are important to your community. The first freeze of the season, a lot of us haven't seen it just quite yet. We're trying to get there, but we understand that that means you're sneezing longer. That means that trees and plants need that cold weather to go into their hibernation so they can be ready for next growing season. And we know that it makes more bugs, makes them just last longer, more mosquitoes biting, ticks lasting longer. And then snowfall trends. Everyone's looking for that first snow of the season. We're starting to talk about skiing and skiing plans. You can bring those in as well. These don't have to be the things that you talk about, but again, if you need 3 ideas to just get you started, we've got all those resources at climatecentral.org. And I do want to point out all of the resources that we're showing here today. At the end, I'll pull up a QR code that will have them all in one web page for you as well. Okay, Anna, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Shel. And also thank you for all those ideas, because now we're going to be using them for a reel. So how can we go from the data to a reel? And what I want to say is that I know that through social media, everything goes like really fast nowadays, and everyone wants to put the information first. But I don't want you to stress about that, because once that you already have your own community, they will be waiting for you to say something and to mention. They could go to other sites and probably, okay, I will pick this information and just be informed about this, but they will wait for you. So that will be one of the first advice that I want to let you know, and just like to really enjoy communicating and probably transitioning into the social media. But it's not about who gets it first, but who gets that information better. And with that being said, let's go to the other slide. This is like a big spoiler, and there is not perfect formula because we are all different, meaning that we all consume information in a very different way. We could like sarcasm. I like sarcasm actually, but I know that there's a lot of people that doesn't like it. And also it will depend on a variety of factors that will let you know what will be the proper tone, So everyone is different, and we have all different ways for consuming that information. So there's no perfect formula. I think that you should take what is better and suits you the best. Now, I want to show you some examples of the reels that I've done. For example, let's hear the first one. Well, for those who doesn't speak Spanish, read it. Let's see.
A finales de los años 60, unas compañías abandonaron 2 fosas repletas de residuos contaminados por dioxina a orillas del río San Jacinto, una sustancia considerada cancerígena y que durante mucho tiempo fue el contaminante número 1 del país. Este lugar es algo que en inglés se le conoce como un superfund.
Okay, so in this one, you could see that I'm probably a bit serious, because I'm talking about a very polluted site that is a very delicate information. So that will allow me to think, okay, so what is the scene, where I want to be for delivering this information? And since I'm the only Spanish-speaking environmental reporter of the Houston area, so I cover a variety of stuff, from pollution to making these climate connections and to watchdogging the oil and gas industries. So that will also give me a tone on how to deliver that information. Let's see the second one.
¡Qué calor! Pero histórico, inusual y peligroso, y no nos afecta a todos por igual. Un nuevo estudio de Climate Central confirma que el cambio climático asociado con actividades humanas, como la quema de combustible fósil, está aumentando el riesgo durante el embarazo por el calor extremo. Entre 2020 y 2024, el calor extremo aumentó en 247 países y 940 ciudades en el mundo.
Believe it or not, the language will also be a factor to consider. In this case, I'm talking about the heat. So we have this song, and I can play around that. I've seen even meteorologists like include this probably a part of a song lyric, and it's like so incredible. And I remember that I had that conversation with a very close friend, which is a meteorologist, and I was like, you should have tried it in Spanish. And he was like, well, I've been trying to figure out which song could suit, but it doesn't. So a language could be also something that you might consider for delivering a specific type of information. And also, sorry, it's so cold here. And also it will allow you to pitch that information in a different way, so people won't get like probably bored, or even get to a different type of community or people that probably they never saw that, or they even considered that was interesting until they see this type of stuff. Now let's go to the third example.
Un nuevo estudio de Beyond Petrochemicals revela que la expansión de la industria petroquímica en las costas del Golfo se está dando justo en la trayectoria de huracanes.
We've done a bit of hurricane tracking.
Ella es Heather McTeer-Toney, directora ejecutiva de Beyond Petrochemicals. Me explicó que analizaron 93 proyectos propuestos.
Okay, so in this case, I begin with the study and you will see it. And also, I use a bit, well, we call it a soundbite of the interview that I had with them. Also, like for letting know people that it's not just that I'm reading the study or their report and I'm just like communicating that. I actually went with someone to probably solve all my doubts, asking like, okay, what is a more important thing that I should be focusing on, and probably what is it will be like the second most important, and asking for examples. So that will also allow people to see that I'm pursuing the information, but with the people that wrote that report. It's nothing that I just brought up from, from the leaf or just because I read it and I do a summary and that will be it. Those are like a type of stuff or varieties that you could do or try while putting that information through social media. Now, next slide. So communicating in social media, I figured out that there are three very important things to consider. The first one is to make a list of this, like all the audiovisual assets that you will need. This checklist also will allow you to identify not only the B-roll, the images, the footage that you actually have, or maybe you have to be looking for them or seeking for them because you do not have it. This applies also like for studies, for reports, for documents, but this part in specifically will also help you to know if you have something to cover you with in case you need to read a specific paragraph, because I know that we are all awesome human beings, but we are humans at the end of the day, and probably our mind will be already like overwhelmed with a lot of information that when we want to deliver it, it's like, oh my God, what was it? And then we turn into our script. So that will also help you know where you can have like these breathe, or when can you turn and read the paragraph that you need and then return to the camera and just be with that. And that also is really helpful for the next step, which is your script. This is key. Actually, well, it's not only about what you're going to say, like this screenplay script, but also the shooting script. In Spanish, we call it guión técnico. So in this part, you will include not only what is strictly necessary for you to say, but also it will give you this like order when you're recording, and that even could translate into doing it even faster. But you can include, for example, what would you say as a VO, which is a voiceover, or what you would be saying straight to the camera. It will help you like to identify if it will be like in a close-up or a medium shot, or even if you will be standing. And if you can include also the material that you will be using, it will be nice in case that you just like log your footage and there's someone else that is helping you out with. That will be very helpful for those people that are like in this edition process. Even, I mean, either if you're the one doing that edition process or there's someone else, it will be really helpful, especially if he, she, or they has no clue of what to use for that specific paragraph or sentence that you're referring to. And the third part, be mindful that it takes time. In Spanish, we have this said, or maybe just in Mexico, we have this said that no son enchiladas. It's not fácil. It's not easy. I did a little Spanglish there. So it takes time, it takes time. If you're a woman, probably to do your makeup, be like really fancy, and that applies to guys as well. But yeah, it takes time, like since you type your script and then you fact check it, and then when you take all your or your equipment, if you have some like cameras, lighting, if you need to go to a specific spot and then move to another one, that takes time. And also to log that footage as well takes time and all the edition process. So be mindful that it's not easy, it's not quickly or fast, so it takes time. Next slide. So this is a recording hacks that I have. For example, the camera transitions. I have like two different examples. The first one, let's see.
Problema que tenemos que resolver es la contaminación por plástico. La ONU asegura que cada año se...
So that was like a camera movement. So you just have to be like really careful that if you start your video or ended up moving from right to left, that's the way that you will have to begin the next one. The same thing if you pull down like from up to down, that way you will have to begin the next one from down, you know. Those movements will help you like to be more dynamic also, because sometimes like the mind is just like seeing the same stuff over and over again, or probably is a very heavy information that they have to be like digesting, and those type of movements will allow the mind like to reset and have a refresh to keep on receiving that information. And the second one,
¿Tú sabes cuánto se desperdicia al año? La EPA estima que son...
and boom, suddenly I'm in another place, you know. So those are like transitions that you could do by yourself, instead of just relying into the transitions that you will be finding on your edition program or whatever, like Premiere, Final, or if you just do it on Instagram Reels, that will help you out to do it like more organically. And the second one is including like the body movements, that it will help you out with the transition as well.
¿Sabías que aproximadamente un tercio del alimento que se produce ni siquiera llega a nuestra boca? Va directamente...
So in that case, I just, okay, so I put my hand, it will be even bigger. So we will probably say to the mind, oh, there's a movement over there. So I use, in that, I use the body movement and then the addition transition that Premiere offers to me. So I just make the same movement on my edition process and while recording. You can also like turn, like for example, I'm talking to you straight in the camera and suddenly I continue talking to the side. And I don't even need to be in the same like space, like in the office. Maybe when I turn, I could be in the woods, you know, but people won't notice because of the movement of your body. And that's a hack. Now let's see to the next part, which is the recording as well. But having like different angles will make it also like dynamic. Like don't be afraid of going even further, or no, this is further, going a little bit front and then go even further, go to the right or to the left. It doesn't matter. Like adding movement, it will help you out, like people to keep like, oh, now she moves and she's still saying this. And also different type of shots, but that's meaning recording you even twice or three, how many times do you need. Because when you just like make a different scale where you're editing, like doing the image even bigger or shorter, that doesn't look, well, personally, I'm not a big fan of that. I prefer to record like from two different scales. One would be like, I believe it's the right side that you're seeing. You're looking like, for example, I'm even like closer to the camera, but that's the way that I put the camera on. And then the other one, well, I need to go even further. But I feel like that looks even better because of the quality of the video. If you do that on the edition, it will be looking probably with a lot of pixels, or in Spanish, it will be like it's a little bit noisy on the image. Now let's go to the next slide when we're talking about edition. So either if you're editing on our Premiere Pro or Final Cut, or even on Instagram Reel, you can notice that you have different areas. One, it will be for your video and one will be for the audio. So you have to take care of both. Even if you don't have like very incredible images, like you have to be very careful with the audio, because it's like proven that when an audio is not perfect, people can see something that has no not a really nice or even high quality, but they cannot stand listening to something that sounds like awful or not appropriate. Let's see the next one. In this part of the edition, you have to be very mindful and careful on how you're using the images. And I talk specifically about the graphics. So let's see the first example with this actually about the, oh, no, no, to the, a little bit back. So we could play the video. Yes. Okay, so when I was doing this, I said, okay, I will try just like to slide it. But then I figured out that the title won't be there the whole time. And I wasn't going to be sure, like, okay, what if the person is trying to read the title and it also has like a subtitle? And then what about the numbers on the other side? They will be forgetting about the number. So what I did is that I produce the one on the right that you can say, you can tell and read the title perfectly. You could see the one in the, yeah, the one, you can see the numbers as well. So as I was like talking and what they were going to be seeing, suddenly like the graphic changed. But the most important part, the numbers are there, the title is there, so the people won't be forgetting about that. But obviously, that's something that I did on the edition, and you will see that in your Instagram. But this is how it was being seen on my Premiere. All those layers. So I have one for the title. I have to cut one, like the column 1, 2, and 3, manage the size. And also I was like, oh no, but I'm missing the Climate Central logo. So I included that and I was like, okay, so this legend, the small letters, mom always says, you have to read the small letters too. So I included just in case, but so that's what I say when you have to be really mindful and careful on how people will be reading this. Sometimes I do the exercise of, okay, if I was receiving this information, how will I like that information to be sent to me? So it will be even easier for me to consume or read it or understand. So that's a very nice exercise as well. Next slide, please. Okay, and always remember your source. Always mention what a study it is or report that you are basing on. You must include like the title because it will say like it's a real one. It's not like, oh yeah, this report that I read once in this specific site. So always mention it, always show it. Highlighting what you're saying is very important because sometimes we don't have maybe a soundbite or an interview or through a webinar for this person to mention something. Sometimes, and that happens a lot with the companies or CEOs, that we will see just like a statement, right? So highlighting what you're saying or mentioning or referring to is really important. And there will be cases where you can show who you're speaking with. And this type of stuff will give you credibility when we are showing that reel. And credibility is very important. Actually, if you push, click the button or all of this gives you credibility. So I really hope that you enjoy this. And as a recommendation, I brought a book because I really like to read books. This is a very nice one from Katherine Hayhoe, who is one of my favorite climate scientists and communicators as well. This will help you out to know how to talk. Oh, Aline, hi. She's a really nice, also social media communicator. If you haven't followed her, Ali Van Fleet, she's amazing. So yeah, so Catherine Hayhoe will also give you really nice hacks and tips on how to communicate people, especially those who are maybe dismissive, and try to inform them as well.
Cool. One thing I want to point out before we move on is this image here on the left right hand side. You're in a Marvel shirt, and I don't know if you were specifically talking about something that had to do with Marvel, but um, I don't know. I think it may be different from place to place, right? Like some places you may want you to do all this, and something that looks like what you would do on TV. But I found that a lot of the social media content, social media videos that I've made have done a lot better when I'm just dressed like normal Shell versus like Shell trying to be professional sometimes. So I think there's mixed cases, but I think that's one piece that I love here is that you're just in a Marvel shirt for that one. Yeah.
I love Marvel.
All right. So before we jump into some questions and answer things, just some ways to tie this all up. I think that the biggest thing I want you to take away is that every time you connect a dot, again, it doesn't always have to be just a full-on onslaught of climate information, just those little moments here and there that somebody can take and just chew on for a little bit, that really helps people see the bigger picture and help them understand a little more and then ask some extra questions and then maybe go find that themselves or listen a little bit better the next time. And this is the same as the work that you're already doing as a journalist, as a meteorologist, as an educator, as a content creator. Whatever your lot in life is right now, you're already trusted by the people who are following you, by people who are watching you. You're already talking about things like the weather. You're already talking about the impacts to people's lives, their pocketbooks, their communities, whatever it might be. You're already talking about these things. That climate context just makes that content more relevant and not less. Those small mentions add to big understanding. And again, yeah, not everything is just because of climate change, but a lot of times the climate connection answers that last, okay, yeah, I know these things, or I've seen storms, or I've seen an event like this, or I know it's hot in summer, but like, why is this worse? That little added drip and drop and dot, that can help. And again, just start. You don't have to ask for permission. You don't have to wait for permission. You can just go. So we are going to spend the last couple of minutes answering questions, but I did want to share both of our email. I speak, I think, for Anna as well as myself. If you have questions after this, or maybe something that you kind of are thinking about yourself and then want to learn more about, feel free to reach out. And that QR code there is everything that we saw. Another a couple questions of asking if we would put links to the resources in the chat. That QR code is going to get you to a page that has everything that we showed here today. And again, by signing up for Climate Matters or going to the resource section on climatecentral.org, or just typing in your city, there's a new search bar right there on the homepage that you can type in your community, your city, and it will put it all together for the season that we're in, to find all the resources that you want to talk about.